When I grew up,
Yeah.
like, full disclosure,
Yeah.
like, Star Wars wasn't my, like, big thing.
Get
like,
out.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Yeah, just before we start, I just want to let you know that I'm not like a critic or a reviewer or a journalist of any kind. I'm like, I'm a young filmmaker who makes things on the internet. And,
What do you make? What kind of stuff?
Like comedy and shorts. I've made a couple of series.
Cool.
Like it's on the internet, so the joke I make is that it doesn't really count yet. But like, for some reason, because I do that, they let me talk to people like you.
I love it.
And I'm just going to take that opportunity to just basically steal from you if I can.
In that case, I'm taking off the jacket.
I mean, first of all, like everyone says that there are Star Wars fans now making Star Wars movies. And it's
Sure.
like, yeah, but if there wasn't Star Wars fans making Star Wars movies, there wouldn't be anybody making Star Wars movies.
It's a strange thing, isn't it? Yeah, the notion that even like the main official films, like I don't know, they are the official films, so they're not fan fiction, but they're fiction being made by fans.
Exactly,
So where does
yeah.
the line get drawn? Yeah, it's very odd, and it's I think you even see it reflected in these movies. I know, in The Force Awakens, I took a real cue off of that moment where Rey hears Luke Skywalker's name and you see her eyes light up, and I thought he was a myth. And we carry that thematically into this film, and we kind of had to. It was there not just as a meta thing, but in the actual movie, like the relationships of the younger characters to these legends that they're meeting. It's kind of baked into the films a little bit. The element of fandom, I guess,
Yeah, and I think that the thing I wanted to sort of ask about that was, as somebody who is a filmmaker and someone who's a fan, how did you distinguish where that line was? Like when you were making it, did you go like, oh, this moment would be great as part of the story, or did you go, hang on, is that in a fan moment of me going, I would love to see that?
I didn't, because I think just because of the way I go about writing, I never felt like the fan part of me was something I had to like put a check on like that. I feel like I just worked forward in terms of the story, and if there was something that I had in my head like, oh, it'd be fun to see this or fun to see that, I tend to be pretty brutal in the writing process. So anything that didn't actually fit in the story or wasn't there for a reason always ends up falling away anyway.
Yeah.
So I actually found the fact that I had like all these years of just being a Star Wars fan to draw on, I found that to be nothing but a benefit. Just because you don't want to, in terms of like the internal check of does this feel like Star Wars, all you can go to is like your own kind of sense of it. And so knowing that I love this stuff since I was a kid and I have my own personal sense of what makes it feel Star Wars-y, it's necessary, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what about the writing process? Because my friend, actually, you went to UFC, and you attended at one point when you held up a notebook and said, this is episode 8 at the moment. This is all that exists of it.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to know, like, how does it go from that to something like this? And what's that? What is it? Do you enjoy it? Because, like, for me, writing is, like, constantly horrible.
Writing's miserable. Nobody. I don't trust anyone who claims to enjoy writing. It's a miserable process. I had the most fun I've ever had writing on this, and it's still my least favorite part of the process. But it's it's also where you make the movie. Really, it's and the way I do it, which is just the way I've always done it, is I work in little moleskin notebooks, and the first 80% of the process is just working in those little notebooks. Outlining.
I think I make a mistake sometimes of just going, right, open final draft, let's start.
Well, but then there are filmmakers like I can't speak for them, I don't know them, but I've heard that the Coen brothers work more like that, where they'll actually just start with an idea and go. And there are other great writers who I'm sure do that and can pull it off. I think it's just whatever works for you. For me, I have to start with an outline, and then I start broad strokes, and then get the big picture, and then drill in. But I'll outline, and then I'll even write longhand. I'll write the first version of the script in those little notebooks, actually, like dialogue and everything. And then actually going to a computer is the very, very last step.
How does that work with like such a huge like I imagine when
Yeah.
you're making something like Brick, like
Yeah.
that, it's like an independent movie. You do that in
Yeah.
your own way. But with something like this, which is such a huge studio movie, maybe the
Yeah.
huge studio movie.
Yeah.
Like, how do you like go? This is what I got. Like, and it's like there's
It's
like
all,
notebooks.
it's all the same stuff. man.
Amazing,
It's all the
like-
same thing. It's words on the page,
Mhm.
words for actors to say. It's a story that you got to follow and you got to care about. The truth is that's been the big, because I had the same feeling coming into it that you just described. I was like, I've never done a studio movie ever. This is my first studio movie, and definitely nothing like this scale. What's going to feel different about it? And the big pleasant surprise for me was how it really is the same process as any other movie. You know, you're just telling a story with some actors, trying to make people care about it.
Yeah.
And other than that, I mean, all the stuff that's bigger, it's a bigger production, but it doesn't really affect like what matters about the process, oddly. Definitely not the writing. The writing is a great equalizer. It doesn't matter if you're writing fade in space or fade in, school.
Yeah.
It's you're still then you have that log line, and then you have to make a scene work. So,
Yeah, I spoke to Gareth Edwards when Rogue One came out about.
don't trust a word that man says.
No, I didn't. I read it all
He's
up.
a lovely guy.
Yeah, like about the exact same thing about how going from something more independent to something bigger, and he said the exact same thing.
Yeah,
and I
it's
was
really
like,
true.
do you get more time? And he was like, the thing is, the productions get bigger, everything
Yeah.
gets bigger, so your time gets sort of eaten away at
And
because you instead of just turning the
absolutely.
camera around, you got to turn everything around.
Well, and I think it's also the case that, it's like gas will expand to fill a container. I think no matter what the length of your production, whether you're doing, my first movie, we had a 19-day shoot. This one, we had like a 110-day shoot. And you always feel like you have 10% less than you need. I think that's just like a law of filmmaking, I think you everything kind of expands to fill what you've got. Yeah.
I don't want to put any pressure on you to think of like the perfect answer for this, but like on set sometimes things are just like so dreadful and you're just like, this is going so wrong. Do you have any sort of like anecdote from this one of just like where things went wrong, but maybe something good came out of it as well, that like because it was so unexpected?
I feel like such a wimp. I wish we had war stories. The truth is we had a really blessed shoot with this one.
Congratulations.
And I know. Well, it's great. No, but I feel like you want to have those great kind of, oh man, it was rough when we were, that always sounds cooler. And I feel like I'm just like giving a company line or something when I say, but it's really the truth. Like we all got along well, and not that there aren't every single day there are things you butt up against, like we can't do this, but how about this? But that's just normal stuff during the day. I always I have a crossword puzzle. I do crossword puzzles just as for fun.
Okay.
And I always would print one out in the morning and have it on set with me. And so when I'd be at the monitor, it was kind of my meditation, happy space thing would just be to go in and do my crossword. I think it might have kind of unsettled some of the actors and crew because it looks like I'm not paying attention.
It's better than going out and having a cigarette or something.
I guess so. Yeah, that's true.
It's a way of calming your brain.
Yeah, that's true. But the truth is, we had a pretty fun shoot actually.
Amazing, yeah. And I mean, like, it seems like you had an amazingly smooth operation. The fact that you finished such a huge movie, and not only the biggest movie you've ever done, but now you're jumping in to do 3 more of them with them. What are they?
What are they? I don't know. You got any ideas? What have you got for
I just
me?
thought
You're
I'd
a
ask that,
filmmaker.
just
Come
straight
on.
out.
Bring it. What you got?
I mean, I would absolutely love to sit down in a room and talk about that. But I don't think I'm going to be invited to that table.
See, at this point, I'm just at the very start of figuring out what it is, and it's what got me excited, and kind of my pitch to Kathy Kennedy and the guys at Disney was, it wasn't like a specific, story even. It was just new story, blue sky, wide open canvas, three movies telling one big amazing story, and let's tell a new story.
Yeah, I like that as well, because I know there's loads of speculation as well about, like, maybe it'll be about Obi-Wan Kenobi, and maybe it'll be about that.
Well, that's the thing. And I get it, though, that fan, you immediately want to see stuff you've already seen again because you like it, and I totally get that. I feel that, too, as a fan. But the whole idea with this, and what's really exciting to me, is striking out and finding some new ground,
I think speaking of that, actually, I know I'm going to be as vague as possible, and I know you'll get what
Yeah.
I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But the best moment in this,
Yeah.
I think, is with brand new characters.
Oh,
I
good.
think that
Yeah,
there are
yeah,
so
yeah.
many moments
Yeah.
that people will come away from like being so
Yeah.
excited about.
Yeah.
But I think the moment of the film
Yeah.
involves like 3 of the brand new characters.
Oh, that's awesome. I love it. Yeah.
And I just want to congratulate you on like.
Thank you. After
making
we
that
cut,
the
you can
moment.
tell me what the moment is.
Yeah, I will do.
All right, yeah.
But yeah, I thought that was an incredible moment.
Oh, thanks. Well, it's like, I mean, and that's, you know, that I think, The Force Awakens, one of the many things I think it did well was just introducing these incredibly
I
vibrant
completely
looking
agree.
characters.
Yeah, because when I grew up,
Yeah.
like full disclosure,
Yeah.
like Star Wars wasn't my like big thing.
Get
like,
out.
Yeah, sorry.
No, I'm
kidding. But then the Force Awakens like sort of showed me.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
oh yeah, that I get it. That's
It
what
is.
Star Wars is.
That's it. It's a big warm hug into Star Wars. It's something I think both people who are new to it and also old school fans like myself really, really wanted, you know? So, yeah.
Process when coming to directing, like speaking to actors, like what is that for you? Like because some people tell you like
Yeah.
you should just cast and then understand that they get the characters, or
Yeah.
you shouldn't give too many notes, or you shouldn't parrot them, or like about how you want certain lines delivered.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering what your specific process is with that
I
sort
mean,
of thing.
it all depends on the actor, every single, and I think your job is to kind of figure out what each individual actor, what you can do for them to just facilitate their best work, figure out what they need, and every actor is different. Because I always just made short films when I was young, and I just like, before I didn't make I made my first feature when I was just turning 30, and before then I had just done shorts, and I never really worked with professional actors before. So my first film, that was a part I was terrified about, and I found really quickly right away became my favorite part of the whole process, actually. But I think a big part of it is just, I think coming into it, I had the stress of, do I have to have some kind of method in my head? Do I have to know how to get inside their heads? Do I have to? And the truth is, it's all you have to do is, or this is what I do, is just be their audience, observe what they're doing, feel it, and then react honestly to that and have an honest conversation with them about it. And, and you don't have to try and do their job for them in terms of telling them how to perform. You just have to communicate honestly what you felt from it and how you think that can be, shaped so that it serves the scene. Or if something isn't working in the scene, it's okay to say, it's more than okay. It's part of the process to say to your actors, okay, this beat isn't landing. Why? What's feeling wrong about it? And have the conversation as opposed to feeling like you have to have the answer all the time.
Absolutely. I think that a struggle that I'm having sometimes is like when something's on the script and then you bring it out, and for some reason, like you can't let go of what was.
Oh, you always have to. Yeah, absolutely. When I get on set, the person who wrote the script, even though it was me, is some other jerk.
Right.
Now we're actually in the trenches.
Yeah.
Forget the battle plan the generals came up with. We're in the trenches right now. We gotta get over that hill.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, you gotta, if something is not working, and the actors will know it too. And so you got to be honest with them and just say, yeah, this beat isn't working. So why isn't it working? Do we change the blocking? Do we change the words? What is it that you guys feel is snagging it? Unless you have a sense of what it is. And,
Okay, I'm going to have one last question for you.
Hit me. What do you got?
The editing process is something that is where I found filmmaking.
Yeah.
And it's a slog, but I do still really get something out of it.
Oh, yeah, 100%. The editing process is, I'm not saying anything new here, but it's the completion of the writing process, It's where you finish writing the movie.
Did you find anything in this where you were just like, hang on, if I put that there instead?
An insane amount of stuff. At some point, I want to put out there, like, the work, like the shooting draft of the script, so that everyone can, and that's actually what we shot and how we first assembled it, so that everyone can see how much shuffling and splicing and taking stuff out and rearranging stuff we ended up doing quite a lot, because you have to, again, it's similar to being on set. It's not like you can just stick to your plan. You got to make the movie work. And if something about it isn't working, and inevitably it won't be, you put that first assembly together. If you watch it and don't want to shoot yourself in the head, then you're doing something wrong. You always want to just hide under a rock after you see the first assembly. And then you get to work and you start, okay, God, we spent a week and built this magnificent set to shoot this scene, but it's slowing us down and we don't need it. pull it out, put
Kill
it
your
together.
darlings. Yeah, that is
Always,
just one of those things where like I constantly struggle as well. It's like even if it's just like a nice shot, even if it's just like, oh, I got the jib and did this, and it's like doesn't work.
You got to do it, man. You got to be brutal.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, you'll be sitting there with the audience and you'll feel everything kind of grind to a halt, and you'll be like, I should have cut it. But yeah. Always.
Well, I think that's a good lesson to leave on. Thank you so much for your time.
That was a pleasure, man.
Congratulations on the movie. I really, really appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Yeah.